viewpoint statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyAccess.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. Heat fans, time for the best insight of your favorite team with insider Ira Winderman, exclusively on the Big O Radio Show. It's the Acura of Pembroke Pines, Miami Heat and NBA report. Here's Ira Winderman.
All right, we are ready to go, locked and loaded. How you feeling, Ira? You feeling good?
I'm finally home. We've been home for 2 days out of the last 19, and Big O, it's like I wrote in my Winderman's View after the Nets game, to come back at 10-7 after 12 of the first 17 on the road. This was Survivor, and the Heat didn't get voted off the island. They're fine. They're in a good place. Yeah.
Thrived. I mean, they thrived. It started off. It was weird because we thought we were headed for another, hey, we don't really give a shit about the first half of the season. We're going to kind of coast type of thing. And that's what we saw in the first couple of games where, Jimmy took off the third game, I think it was, or something. And we're like, what the hell is this? What's going on? You're 1-3. And then I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know if there was some team meeting, I don't know what it is. But then all of a sudden they said, no, we're not going to be that team. And now it's been fun to watch, like even on Saturday, I'm watching knowing that they're going to lose, but I'm sitting there going, not with this guy. He might be able to pull off an upset just like Riley with, Rex Chapman and 39 points against, Michael Jordan. So I'm just thinking, and I'm watching Saturday and I'm thinking, you just never know. Plus, on a twisted way, I said, this game was really good because all these young guys got all this playing time. And, it's not like you're 4-12 and you desperately need the win. You lose this game. Okay, it's not the end of the world, but it was a lot of good minutes for a lot of guys. And that one Yovic pass to Triple J and the layup, that was, that was nice. So it was one of those things that it's become a pleasant season now because of the effort we're watching. And that's why when you talk about this road game, they thrived, baby. They did great in this road game.
Yeah, and again, look, there were a couple of moments. You blew a 21-point lead in Chicago. You blew a 21-point lead in New York. That happens over the course of the 3-point NBA. Yeah. I mean, those things happen. You know what? I think, Big O, what changes, they started to learn their team and what works and what doesn't. So they learned that, hey, Jaime Jaquez Jr. is not your typical rookie. He's ready to play now. They learned that they need Caleb Martin, but they needed to bring him back slowly so the need doesn't become a season-long problem. They learned that Thomas Bryant is not an answer, but Kevin Love as a backup center is an answer. So what you do is, in these first 20 games, it's like Kevin Love said after the game in Brooklyn, you find out what works and who you are, and then you build on that. That's what Eric Spoelstra is very good at doing. He's finding combinations, he's finding what works and what doesn't work. Josh Richardson got his legs. He was awful at the start of the season.
He's
foot
like
problem.
Now, actually, it's
because he's found his place. He's found his niche with this team, and that's how you move forward. Look, are there still holes? Sure. I mean, you had Kyle Lowry at 37 and playing both ends of the back-to-back, not optimal. Drew Smith out for the season. You and I in our Acura Pembroke Pines reports have talked for years about the lack of depth at point guard. I do think they have to address that. But I would say this, the Heat know who they are now. And who they are is competitive with just about anyone in the Eastern Conference. And shooting for home court in the first round of the playoffs should be a very real goal to be there in that group in Milwaukee, Boston, and Philadelphia. Because, yes, the Knicks beat them, but so what? They showed they could play with them. They beat Cleveland, another team people thought would be top 4. The Heat are absolutely in that second-tier regular season in the East. And we've shown and have shown with a puncher's chance they could beat a Boston, a Milwaukee, or a Philadelphia. So they're positioned well right now. It reminds me of the Dolphins' early schedule. Just get through that. Then you beat up on the competition the Dolphins are playing lately. Same thing. I'm looking at it with the Miami Heat.
The Thomas Bryant thing where he got kind of exposed. And I like Thomas Bryant. I still think it's a good pickup for them. But where Thomas Bryant's going to thrive is when the lineup is normal and it's full, and then he can fill a role for
Yes.
you. But on Saturday, everybody that was on the floor had to become the guy. You had to carry a load, and that's not Thomas Bryant's game. It's more of a complementary type thing because he will have. It's kind of like, you know how sometimes in football, sometimes you'll get that young guard and he's still a little green, but you'll hide him next to that stud left tackle and that seasoned center, and you can kind of hide him a little bit and guide him and all that kind of stuff, and you don't expose him too much. That's Thomas Bryant. Thomas needed to have the whole line. When you saw him on Saturday, it was just one of those things. Feed him the ball, and he's got to try to. That's just not who he is.
He's not your post guy. He's not Bam Adebayo 2.0. He's an energy guy, a rebounder, a guy who can give you some but not give you all, and it didn't work out. And honestly, I'm not going to lie, Big O. The numbers that Orlando Robinson put up in Sioux Falls over this weekend show there still might be something there. I was down on Orlando Robinson as not being athletic enough, not being fast enough, not being quick enough. But you know what? If you need volume, he might give you a chance because he knows the Heat way and the way to do things. Has that Heat heart, as you're pointing to. And yeah, I think that matters also. He might move up in the hierarchy. And like Eric Spoelstra said, yes. Could they have used him in Brooklyn? Sure. He wasn't going to turn the game. He needs reps. He needs minutes. And that's what he got in Sioux Falls.
No, but they needed him on Saturday. Saturday for sure. You were tweeting it out during the game, and then he had that fantastic game. They definitely needed him. And he isn't athletic, but he makes up for some of that lack of athleticism with his heart and determination, which, by the way, let's just say that's kind of what made UD because UD wasn't necessarily super athletic.
Right.
Alonzo Mourning wasn't a super athletic guy. He was kind of mechanical, but that heart, that determination, he molded himself into a hell of a player, but his game never flowed like Olajuwon or Patrick Ewing or those guys had flow to their game. It was one of those things that was natural. He has to work at it. Orlando Robinson's one of those kind of dudes also that has to work a little harder than that other guy that has just those gifts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Again, not as gifted, like you pointed out, a guy who could contribute. And again, a project. It's interesting. The whole Nikola Jovic stuff, and people are questioning. He's 20 years old. He has played American style of basketball for less than a full year. He still has to learn the game. People pigeonholing him. He should be this. He should be that. The kid is frustrated because he's learning. But you know what? Plenty of kids come into college programs frustrated and come out on the other end better players. He's basically in his college years. It's just happening to happen with the Miami Heat. I think Jovic can be a player. I don't think he could be a contributor this year. I think he could have his moments. So you need to step back. You drafted the 4-year collegian in Jaime Jaquez Jr. He was ready to go. You drafted the 19-year-old high school kid in Nikola Jovic. You have to wait a little longer.
What'd you think of his quote, Jovic, in an interview with Max Bet Radio
in Serbian, which was translated? Yeah. So you're getting the English version. Yeah.
So is this? I have to first ask you: have you checked if this is accurate? Because if it's accurate, he says everything I'm good at, they don't seem to use, and what I'm worse at, they seem to force it. I know that I can play in several positions and in several ways, but they simply seem to be trying to limit me in some way. I'm really coping and trying to make the best of this, but it's not easy. It's really not easy. This is not a good look for him. Because
I got to tell you something.
Yeah, but the track record of, with 100 players, says you know what they're doing, and you whining and complaining somewhere else in another language, not a good look.
But Big O, and you're the perfect person for this because you're bilingual. You know some of the euphemisms that you use in Spanish, and in Cuban Spanish don't necessarily translate directly to English. There's some things that don't translate. I think what Nico Yovic was saying, which he said differently to me, is this. Is center his best position? No. Does he like playing center? No. It hurts. It's physical. He's still a beanpole. Bogdan Bogdanovic told me that earlier in the year, the Hawks guard. He has to grow into his position. He wants to be a perimeter player. We asked him when he came in, this 6'10", 7-foot player, what are you? And he goes, I'm a guard. He wants the easy way out. He wants the easy button. Here's the deal. With the Miami Heat as currently constructed, is he going to play guard or wing ahead of Jimmy Butler, Caleb Martin, Haywood Highsmith, Josh Richardson, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kyle Lowry? Of course not. So if he's going to get minutes with the Miami Heat, we just talked about this in the center rotation where you are weak with Thomas Bryant, with Orlando Robinson. You don't have the depth. That's his ticket to playing time. So Nico Yovic, I would have followed it if it was in English, of course, not in Serbian, and asked him this. Okay, kid, you can have your choice. You can be a Miami Heat 9th string wing, or you could be a Miami Heat second team power player. Which do you want? That's the choice right there. The Heat don't need him to be a wing. They have wings coming out the wazoo. What they need him to be is, hey, maybe we'll play 5 out or a different look when Bam is off the court, which we saw a little on Saturday. But on the other end, you're going to have to go against Nick Claxton. You're going to have to go against the likes, of Brook Lopez. You're going to have to go against a big man who's going to put his bigger body on you. It's not fun. You might not necessarily want to do that, but that's what we need. So that was the frustration, I believe, that he offered in that interview. You know what, Big O? We've seen this so many times. You've seen Heat players, and you've said to me, you know what, Ira? If he was on another team, that kid, Beasley, could average 30 points, 25 points a game and lose. And I think for years, you even thought that of Tyler Hero. That if Tyler Hero went to a bad team, he would be All-NBA, he would be an all-star, he'd get a lot of points, but they would be what we call empty calories. Right now, the Heat need Nico Yovic to be in the big man rotation or not in the rotation at all. Okay, kid, it's your choice. You don't like it? Hey, we all got stuff we don't like. You were pigeonholed in bad radio slots on other stations. That's what they told you. You could either pout your way through it or do the best show possible. You opted to do the best show possible. Same thing for him. Hey, we're not giving you drive time. We're giving you the 1 to 3 when no one's listening because they're all at work. Now give us your best show, Nicola. That to me is the frustration. And you know what, Big O? Because we both have kids, we understand kids get frustrated because they haven't been through real life and haven't learned. I know you're the same way at home. Life is hard. Life is not always given to you what you want. I think that's what Nicola is going through right now.
All right. Did we go through Saturday to get to Tuesday? Is that kind of what it was? Because, I mean, missing half the team, it was kind of rough on the youngsters. And so how healthy are the boys going to be tomorrow against Milwaukee? The first game was without Bam, right?
Yeah, the Milwaukee, that was one of the 3 games he missed with the hip injury, which is concerning because that was October 30th, and it's still lingering now into late November and December. He did miss that game. They were shorthanded, competitive. Obviously, they lost that game on the 1-3 start. That left them 1-2. Then they lost the next game to Brooklyn. Eric Spoelstra always tells us he doesn't load manage. I think he does load manage. Jimmy Butler has yet to play both ends of a back-to-back this season. He kept Kyle Lowry's minutes shorter because of the back-to-back. I don't want to say he punted on the game because Eric would kill me if I say he ever punted on a game. He plays to win with what he has, but I think he wanted to bring his team back in one piece, and I think he managed to do that. So instead of just the 2-day break with Sunday and Monday, he gave those guys a 3-day break. They were not happy with the back-to-back, playing a late start in New York. ESPN delayed that till 8 o'clock, come back the next day. Eric Spoelstra even said, oh, this is a tough schedule 22 hours later. He wasn't happy with the scheduling. So, yeah, I think the Heat go all in. It's the NBA tournament for whatever that's worth. It'll be the ridiculous red court out there. They'll play this one to win. This is at least a 3-game homestand, depending on the NBA tournament. So, yeah, I think this is not the exhale, but a chance to get their legs back and be who they are. So I think you'll see the best version of the Heat Tuesday night against the Bucks.
And by the way, just maybe I'm wrong and won't be the first time, but I want to be fair.
Okay.
Because I do hammer the guy at times. And I got to say that I'm kind of seeing a different Kyle Lowry this year. Seems to me like a guy, I hate to phrase it this way, but it just seems like I'm getting more effort out of him early here in this season. I'm just saying I don't know. It just seems like I don't know if he's more into it a little bit than he has been in years prior at this point in the season. I don't know. You tell me.
Okay, I'll start with 2 words and then continue. My 2 words would be contract year. Kyle Lowry's at the end of his contract. It's remarkable in sports how that plays out. And you know what? Even at 37, he's still looking for another one. That's number one. You just can't deny that. It just is. But I'll tell you something else, Big O. If you notice the games when Kyle is doing that, it's when others are out. When Bam was out in Cleveland, when Bam was out in Brooklyn, and he has to do more. What we still have to see is this. Not only with Kyle Lowry and the fit working when everyone's together, but also when Tyler Hero comes back. Can he mesh with Jimmy and Bam in the starting lineup, or does Eric Spoelstra have to adjust? So Eric Spoelstra still has, I talked about them coming together. We're at game 17. At game 20, you want to know who you are when you're a quarter through the season. I still don't know if the Heat's best rotation and lineup is one with Lowry and Hero and Jimmy and Bam, or if you need to stagger that a little. Because when Kyle's been playing without one of the big three, he's done more. We'll do more with the big three. When Tyler Hero's been in there have been other guys who've been differential, play together. I still think, and it's not going to happen because of ego, Tyler Hero is best for this team coming off the bench. And maybe if Tyler wasn't in that starting group, Kyle Lowry would give you a little more at the start also. So I think there's still some stuff Eric Spoelstra has to navigate, understanding the ego of today's player as well.
I know you've addressed this before I let you go. Are they searching for another ball handler now that they lost Drew?
The Heat keep telling me no because they keep coming back with, Jimmy handles, Bam handles, Caleb can handle, and that's true. There's also your favorite, the luxury tax and the other factors. As I wrote, Drew Smith was guaranteed only $425. However, because it's season ending, unlike the brutal NFL when they just kick you to the curb, they have to give him his full salary. So it's not like if they replace Drew Smith, even with a hardship exception or something, that it helps the salary cap or the luxury tax. They're mindful of that. I think they will try to work through this situation and see if they can wait to add the 15th player as a ball handler. I would like to see them add someone. We know Goran is chomping at the bit. We know John Wall would come back in a heartbeat. We know Jamari Bouye is down there on the farm if they need him. But they're going to tell you we have ball handlers. We just don't have, in positionalist, quote unquote, point guards. They're going to wait. I would like to see another one because we saw this Big O last year. You push Kyle Lowry's minutes early, things happen late when you're in your late 30s. So I would like to see it. There's a whole other aspect. It's up to Nick Harrison, Mickey Harrison, going further into the tax, Andy Ellisberg. That's what we have to wait and see.
Don't tell me that you have enough and all that. That's why you had Drew on the roster in the first place.
Correct. If you had enough, you wouldn't have had Drew, and you wouldn't have had him with that $425,000 partial guarantee. Absolutely. Very unfortunate. Feel worse for the kid than anything because he pushed himself. That was a bad situation in Cleveland. Shouldn't have been allowed to happen, and now the Heat get screwed because of it.
I just hate hearing that tax thing, that tax complaint coming from, because I know it doesn't. The reason why all of you write it, it's because it comes from somewhere. And so it's just,
it's real. It's a part of the workplace rules of the NBA.
I get it. I totally understand it, but you got to do what you got to do to compete and do.
And
you're stuck in this season. Do the best you can.
And what they'll tell you right now is they'll tell you we can compete with what we have.
Yeah, well, Eric Spoelstra could compete with 5 guys with one leg. And he'll tell you he has enough, and it's 5 dudes hopping around there. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Come on. I mean, it's Eric Spoelstra's never complained in his life. He's the best. Anyway, what do you got going on in the Sun Sentinel so folks can check it out?
I had a chance to talk to Drew Smith alone in Brooklyn. He was very honest. He was heartbroken about what happened. He spoke about the uneven court in Cleveland. He said it was an accident waiting to happen. It happened to him. So we spoke about how that played out, what he plans to do next. If you get a chance to read it, I mean, the kid was candid. It's heartbreaking. He did everything he could to finally try to establish himself. It didn't work out. And in my Ask Ira today, some people said, aren't they glad they didn't trade Jaime Jaquez Jr. for Damian Lillard? I wouldn't go that far, because that's like saying, aren't they glad they didn't trade Yovic when he played well in the World Cup when they would do it now? But it is interesting to look back at the names that were linked to Damian Lillard, especially as Lillard approaches his Miami arrival. And let me ask you this, Big O, because you've been around South Florida sports fans for years. I think you'd agree with me. There's no reason to boo Damian Lillard tomorrow, right? He tried to get here. He wanted to be here. What do you think the reaction will be when Lillard takes the court?
Boo his ass mercifully.
Really?
Yes, because if he was a hard ass, if he had balls,
okay,
and he would have been a hard ass, he would have been here. But he chose the soft approach. Oh, I'm not going to ruffle feathers. Oh, you're sending me to Milwaukee? Oh, woe is me. I'm going to Milwaukee. But if you really wanted Miami, see, it's like who was it that I heard say this the other day? He was saying something, I forgot who it was, but saying, well, Miami fans, you got to let go of the LeBron thing and this and that, and I'm like, no, you asshole, I'm not letting go of the LeBron thing, because he could have decided to leave before the moratorium. He could have been professional and told, hey, Riles, thank you for everything. I won a couple of championships. I got over the hump. I'm going back to my hometown. I want to bring them a championship, but I appreciate it. I'm leaving here before the moratorium so you can have an opportunity to build your team. That son of a bitch waited till after the moratorium to screw Riley. So screw LeBron. And this guy, Damian Lillard, the Miami Heat put their ass on the line. They put everything on hold the entire offseason, waiting for Damian Lillard. They did everything. They stood strong like I did with my crypto in the bear market for 2 years, and now I am freaking enjoying the fruits of my balls. He had no balls. He should have actually been a hard ass, like Riley can be a hard ass, and they both would have been married. He was soft, and he chose the route that they chose for him, which was Milwaukee. And in the end, it's a good situation for him because he ends up with Giannis. But if you really wanted to go to Miami, and that's what you told them, Miami put themselves in a position to meet you halfway, and you punked out. So, Heat fans, boo his ass for 4 quarters. Boo his ass every single time you see him on the street, in a restaurant, anywhere in the arena, in the locker room. Boo his ass. Am I clear
Ladies
now?
and gentlemen, if you see someone with a goatee and long hair tomorrow at Kaseya Center with a banner that says no testicles, that would be known as Orlando Alzugaray, and I'll leave it at that.
Yes, that's it. Because testicles is what Pat Riley has. And he put his testicles out there, and that guy just, I mean, I'm so disappointed in Damian Lillard, because he may have guts on the court, but he has none in the business sector. And that's where James Harden's an asshole, but hey, the asshole finds a way to get his way, one way or another. And that's what he had to do, because that's what NBA players do. That's what LeBron was an asshole with that decision. He crushed his fans' hearts by telling everybody at that moment what he was doing, which was super classless, because what he should have done is told the owner before that. This is what NBA players do. They do it all over the place. Bosh is a super nice guy, and he took a hardline approach with Toronto. No, boo Damian Lillard. Boo him big time. All right.
I'll let you have the last word today, which is very rare for me.
Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat and catch his exceptional work. Better yet, subscribe to the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Ira, enjoy the basketball. We will catch up next week, my friend. Thank
you. Next week on our Acura Pembroke Pines Report. Thanks, Big O.
You've been listening to the Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA Report with Ira Winderman. When you're looking for award-winning service and great deals from the #1 volume Acura sales dealership in the Southeast United States, you go to Craig's Inn Acura of Pembroke Pines at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.